You know those perfect online profiles? The ones with the impressive jobs, the great pictures? Well, what happens when the promises made on paper turn out to be a lie? And that paper is a marriage proposal. Today, we're diving into a landmark court case that tackled exactly that. And believe me, it's more relevant now than ever.
It's a massive question in the age of dating apps, isn't it? How much can you kind of embellish before you cross a serious line? Well, the legal answer to this very modern problem was actually hammered out in a court case from a time before anyone had ever even thought about swiping right. So, this one case, Anurag Anand versus Sunita Anand, heard in the Delhi High Court, it drew a sharp line in the sand. It set a precedent that would define the difference between a little white lie and outright fraud in marriage for decades to come. Our story doesn't start with a swipe or a click, but with something way more traditional. A matrimonial ad in the Hindustan Times. Yeah, back in the 90s, this was how you put yourself out there. And wow, things moved at lightning speed. An ad goes out in May, a biodata is exchanged in June, they're married by the end of July, and by August, it was all over. The marriage had completely fallen apart. A total whirlwind that ended almost before it even began.
Okay, so this is it. This is the document at the very heart of the case. The biodata that started the whole thing. And you got to admit, on paper, Anurag looked like a dream come true. A well-educated sales manager, a really solid salary, and this is the big one. He claimed to own some serious property. By all accounts, he was a fantastic catch.
But after the wedding, things just didn't add up. Sunita started to feel that the life she had been promised just wasn't matching up with her new reality. So, she did something pretty incredible. She started to investigate her own husband. The very first red flag she uncovered was in his employment letter. He'd claimed a salary of 8,500 rupees a month. The reality? Just 5,700. And look, that's not just a rounding error, right? That's a huge chunk of his supposed income just missing.
But the salary? Oh, that was just the beginning. She started digging into those big property claims, the apartment and the plot of land, and what did she find? They didn't own them. Not then, not at the time of the marriage. The two biggest financial pillars of his profile were built on nothing.
So, feeling completely betrayed, Sunita took a really bold and pretty unusual step. She wasn't just going to get a divorce. She wanted to wipe the marriage off the books entirely. She took him to court to have it annulled, arguing the entire thing was based on fraud.
And this brings us right to the core legal battle. Sunita's case was pretty straightforward. I was tricked by material lies, and that's why I said yes. But Anurag's defense is fascinating. He didn't really deny the numbers were off. Instead, he claimed he was being substantially correct. He argued the salary included some potential part-time income, and the property was something his family was entitled to get later. It's a classic case of what's technically true versus what's actually true.
The entire case really boiled down to this one legal idea, a material fact. And it asks a really simple question. Was this lie a deal breaker? Were his salary and his property so important that if Sunita had known the truth, she would have just walked away? That's what the court had to figure out.
Now, Anurag's defense tried to argue that this wasn't fraud in the same way, a business deal could be fraudulent. But the court drew a really powerful line. It said, look, marriage isn't just some simple contract. The standard is higher. It's a life-changing decision built on trust, and the law has to treat deception within it way more seriously. So, after hearing all the arguments, all the back and forth, Justice A.K. Srivastava of the Delhi High Court was ready to deliver his verdict, and it was a decision that would echo far beyond this one courtroom. And on October 11, 1996, the decision came down. The court sided completely with Sunita. The marriage was annulled, declared void from the very beginning. The court just systematically dismantled his entire defense, point by point. The salary misrepresentation? Proven. Property claims? Proven to be false. And were these lies material? Absolutely, the court said. His explanations about extra income and entitlements were found to be totally unsubstantiated. The facts were simple. He lied about what he had, plain and simple. But here's the kicker. The judge went even further. He wasn't just ruling on this one couple. He was sending a message. He wrote, the tendency to give false and inflated information should be curbed. He saw this was a growing problem, people puffing up their biodatas, and he wanted to make it crystal clear. The courts were not going to tolerate it.
And that's the crucial point here. This verdict wasn't just about getting justice for Sunita Anand. It was about establishing a vital legal precedent for everybody else.
So what was the lasting impact? Well, this case basically carved several key principles into law. First, your finances and property, they are not minor details. They are material facts. Second, the rules for fraud when it comes to marriage are way stricter than in business. And finally, it established that the courts have a duty to protect people from being tricked into fraudulent marriages.
And this is the incredible legacy of the case, really. I mean, think about it. This 1996 ruling, decided before most of us had even heard of the internet, created the exact legal playbook that courts now use to deal with fraud on modern dating apps and matrimonial sites. Every single time someone lies about their job or their income on a profile today, the precedent set by Anurag and Sunita's case comes into play.
So it leaves us with a question for our own time, doesn't it? We all curate our online lives. We put our best foot forward. But this case, from nearly 30 years ago, forces us to ask, where does polishing your profile end and committing fraud begin? It's a line that might just be a lot blurrier than we think.